Hi everybody, this is Uncle Larry B. I'd like to say hi to all my nieces and nephews out there. And today we're going to learn a little bit about the GTN750 GPS. First, we're going to go over the course we're going to take from Fort Myers up to Lakeland. And then we're going to get into the workings of the GTN750. So here we go. Okay, so this will be the course we're taking from Fort Myers, KFMY, up to our first intersection, which is Jocks, then to the next intersection, which is Rogan, and then to Lakeland, KLAL. So that's going to be our course from Fort Myers to Lakeland, with two intersections, Jocks and Rogan. We're probably going to do the GPS 9 approach. So we're going to be coming into our initial approach fix, Bomer, and we're going to be doing a procedure turn, and then we're going to be headed in from Arshwa into fly-in, and then into the runway. And if you notice here, this approach plate gives the ATIS information up here near the top. It gives the Tampa approach frequency that you should be on. It gives the Lakeland tower frequency, and it gives the ground frequency. The frequency 236.775 would be a military frequency, as would the 290.3. So we're going to come into Bomer, Arshwa, and we can either do or not do the procedure turn depending on how busy they are. And then we're going to be headed into fly-in, Sunnin, and then runway 9. And down at the bottom here, you can see our altitudes. So our initial altitude coming into Arshwa is going to be below 6,000 and above 2,700 feet. Our initial heading inbound is going to be 0.94 if we don't do the procedure turn. If we go straight inbound. If we come in here and they want us to do the procedure turn, then we can come around like so and do our procedure turn. So our outbound heading is going to be somewhere in the vicinity of 274 degrees. And again, our inbound heading is going to be 094 degrees. At Arshwa, we're going to be again between 6,000 and 2,700 feet, usually closer to 2,700. Then we're going to start descending, and fly-in is our final approach fix. We're going to cross fly-in at 1,700 feet or above. So the line below that means 1,700 feet or above 1,700. And then we're going to cross Sunfin at 780 feet, and our missed approach point right down here is 332 feet with half a mile visibility. So as long as we've got at least 332 feet vertical visualization and a half a mile horizontal, then we can land. So what we're going to do is we're going to set our minimums at 332, and you'll see this is the plan view. This is the profile view, where you can see the profile of our approach into GPS runway 9 in Lakeland. And at the bottom of this, bottom right corner, you see an airport diagram. So that's basically what we're going to be doing. So let's go back to the map, and again we're going to be going from Fort Myers to Jocks intersection, then to Rogan intersection, and then up to Lakeland where we will start our approach. And we'll enter the approach into the GPS before we get to Lakeland, once we're assured that that's the runway they're using and that's the correct approach. Okay, so now we're going to go over to our GTN750. So this is the GTN750 trainer. So we'll show our flight controls and we'll continue. So the first thing we're going to do in the Garmin GTN750 is watch it set itself up. Demo mode is active, do not use for navigation. And this tells us about our updates. We'll continue. So fuel on board, we've got 100 gallons. So we've got 100 gallons and our fuel flow is 34 gallons per hour. And we'll hit continue. The first thing we're going to do is look at our home page.
System test okay.
And our home page has the map, traffic, terrain, and weather across the top row. The middle row is charts, flight plan, procedure, and nearest. The bottom row is waypoint info, services, utilities, and systems. So, in the very top, we're going to look at the frequencies. So to put in a new frequency, we're going to tap the bottom of the two frequencies and we're going to put in 119.0 because that's the frequency for Fort Myers Tower. And we're going to now switch the frequencies and we're going to put 126.8, which is the frequency for Fort Myers approach and departure. So we're getting a message down here on the bottom under message, and we'll see demo mode is active. Okay, now we're on this home page. We're going to start our flight plan. So we're in Fort Myers. So we're going to go to Jocks intersection. So we'll hit add waypoint. Jocks. J-O-C-K-S. Enter. Now add another waypoint, Rogan. R-O-G-A-N. And we'll enter that. Now we're going to add another waypoint, which will be Lakeland. K-L-A-L. So Lakeland. Now the good thing to do once we've got our route set is to look under menu and to make sure that the GPS thinks it's going where we think it's going. For example, if I would have misspelled one of these waypoints, the waypoint that I put in wrong could be up in Alaska, South America, wherever. So let's just look at menu and we'll make sure that the GPS thinks it's going where we think it's going. So we'll hit menu down at the bottom and then we'll hit preview. So now we can see Fort Myers, Jocks, Rogan, and Lakeland. So the GPS thinks that it's going to go where we're going. So that's always very important to do at the beginning, to check the menu and do the preview to make sure you've got the right course put in there. Because trust me, all you need to do is misspell one of the waypoints and you're going to get a big surprise after you take off, because your GPS is going to be all buggered up. Okay, so let's go back. Well, in the very upper right corner, you see the little button that says Home. If we tap that, it goes to the Home page, and if we hold that down, it goes to the Map page. Well, we're stuck right now because the computer's stuck, so we'll get out of this and get back in it. So now we will show what we were going to show before. We'll continue. 100 gallons of fuel. And we'll continue. And we'll put in our flight plan. Fort Myers, add waypoint, JOCS, JOCKS, and we'll enter it. Now we'll add a waypoint, Rogan, ROGAN, and we'll enter it. And now the final waypoint is going to be Lakeland, KLAL, and we will enter that. So now we can go back to our message board here because we're getting a flashing message on the bottom, and this just says demo mode. Okay, so now that we've got our route in, we want to make sure that the computer thinks we're going where we think we're going, because all it takes is to misspell one of these waypoints, and you might have a waypoint in your computer that's in Alaska or Michigan or California or someplace like that. So consequently, we want to check. So we'll hit Menu, then we hit Preview down the left corner. And now we can see that the computer thinks we're going to JOCS, Rogan, and then Lakeland. And that's where we think we're going. So all is good. In our mind and in the GPS information, we all agree. So that's a good thing. So now we will go back to the page that shows our route. And you can see it shows the heading of each leg of our route. The leg that we're on is in magenta, and the distance, the track, and the cumulative distance is shown to the right of the waypoints. So we'll go to the map right now. So up in the upper right corner where you see the home page, we will hold that home page and we'll show the map. So we're at Page Field. So let's turn this to a heading of 054. And that'll be our takeoff heading. We're at 1,700 feet and we'll put it at 180 knots. Actually, you can make this go faster and it won't take quite so long. So we're taking off from Fort Myers, and if you look at the map, in the upper left-hand corner of the map, it says 007 degrees. So that's our track to our first waypoint, 007 degrees. And the distance to our first waypoint is in the bottom right corner. That's 25 nautical miles. So as we get closer, that will change. You can see right now it's at 24.7 nautical miles. So now we're going to turn our heading to 007 degrees. So in the bottom, we're turning this heading to 007 degrees. And that should line us up pretty much with the heading we want to be on, going up to Rogan. So again, the active leg is in magenta, which is the pink color. And down across the bottom, you can see JOCS is in magenta. in the bottom center, because that is the next waypoint that we are going to encounter. So once we get to Jocks, Rogan will be in the center, and then Rogan will be magenta. Now, when you're on a GPS course, you want to make sure that the CDI is on GPS. So the course deviation indicator, CDI, should say GPS when you want to be on a GPS course. And it does. If you look right below CDI on the bottom, you'll see GPS in magenta. Now I'm going to tap that once, and you can see what happens when we change it. So now we're on VLOC. So that's vertical guidance and localizer guidance. So we would be on VLOC for an ILS approach or a VOR approach. And you can see VLOC is blue, and then the GPS is in magenta. So we'll hit the CDI again, and we'll turn that back to GPS. So it's magenta, and everything is happy again now. So that's basically how we initially set this thing up. What we could do, what we could have done from the beginning, is we could go back and set up the course where we go along waypoints of that particular airway. So we'll hit the home button once, and we'll go on our flight plan, and for right now we're going to remove Jocks. We hit remove Jocks, Rogan, we remove Rogan, and now we just have our departing airport and our destination airport. So now I can hit Fort Myers or Lakeland, and the annotation will come up, insert after Fort Myers or insert before Lakeland. So I'll show you each one of those. If I tap Fort Myers, you can see that you can insert it before or insert after, and you can load the SAR, or you can actually hold at that particular waypoint, and it will put in a holding pattern for you. And you can load procedures, load waypoint information, or remove the waypoint. So basically what we're going to do is we're going to insert after. So we're going to do JOCKS, Jocks intersection. So Jocks intersection now is only 11.3 miles away. Lakeland is still 59 miles away. So what we can do now is we can tap on Jocks, and we can load airway. So this will be the airway that Jocks is on. So we'll load that airway, and this will show you all of the intersections that are on that particular airway for the whole length of the airway, and there may be a lot of intersections on there. So that's all the intersections for that particular airway, and not all of them are going to be close to you. So this is Victor 7. So what we're going to do is go back, and we're going to go on Victor 7, and our entry waypoint was Jocks, because we had already chosen that. We're looking down at the bottom there. We enter Victor 7 at Jocks, and our exit waypoint is going to be, let's see if we can find Rogan in there. They should be alphabetically placed. So LAL would be Lakeland VOR. And let's see if we can find Rogan. Here's Rogan right there. So we're going to go on Jocks, Victor 7, and we're going to exit Victor 7 at Rogan, simply because we're going to be picking up the initial approach fix for Lakeland. Now, if we flew directly to the airport, we'd be flying directly to the center of Lakeland's airport, and you can't land if you're vertically above the center of the airport. You have to come in from either the east, the west, the north, or the south. So, therefore, you have to choose an approach. So let's choose an approach at Lakeland. So we're going to load, where it says load here, we're going to load the entrance point and the exit point to the airway before we choose an approach. So we've got those loaded. Now we're going to go to Lakeland and we're going to load the procedures. So we tap on load procedures and we're going to do an approach. So we hit the approach. You could just as well do a departure or an arrival. So the arrival is before the approach. So we're going to only do the approach this time. So we're going to choose the RNAV 9 GPS LPV approach. So we can choose what is our initial approach fix. So where it says transition, it currently says vectors, but we can choose our initial approach fix. So our initial approach fix is going to be bomber. So we'll hit bomber, and it will show us on this little map that we go to bomber, then Arshwa, then fly-in, and then Lakeland. So we're going to load and activate the approach. So when we load and activate the approach, we can see it here. We can see the degrees that each waypoint are, the distance each waypoint would be, and it's going to basically show us the altitude at which we have our missed approach point. And that will show up once we get closer to the airport. We know that after we go past the missed approach point, which is runway 9, we're going to climb to 1,100 feet. Then we're going to go to Plummy for our hold, the published hold after the missed approach. So we'll go back now to the map, and what you'll notice is that on the waypoint thing, we are not headed directly toward the Lakeland Airport anymore. Because remember, when you do an approach, you don't fly directly to the center of the airport runway. You don't want to be vertically above the center of the airport because you've got to come in from either the west, the east, the north, or the south. So this is going to take us from our final fix, which was Rogan, to our initial approach fix, which is bomber. So now, since we are headed toward bomber because we've activated that, we've activated it kind of early, before we got to Rogan actually, because the approach people may tell us you're cleared direct bomber, and then we would activate it just like we did. If they didn't clear us direct bomber until after we got past Rogan intersection, then we would wait to activate the approach until we got past Rogan. So when you're cleared for the approach is basically when you want to activate the approach. Okay, so, and again, our frequencies at the top, which we put in, we can change the frequency, flip-flop them by touching the top frequency. And that flip-flops the frequency. I'll do it again. You see them flip-flop. Now to put in a new frequency, like 119.65, I will tap the bottom one. Let me flip it first. Okay, I'll tap the bottom one and I'll do 11965 and I'll enter it. So when you enter it, it goes into the bottom. Now say that you want to use that frequency immediately. Just say they tell you contact Tampa approach on 12080. If you want that to be used immediately, instead of hitting enter, you hit transfer, and that puts it into the top frequency setting. So you can use it immediately. So again, if you're not going to use it for a while, you hit enter after choosing the frequency. And if you're going to use it immediately, you hit transfer. So basically, right now, we're going to have to change our heading to 343 degrees. So we'll change it to 343. And that should put us pretty close to a heading to Bomber, which is our initial approach fix. Now, how do we look at the map for our initial approach fix? We can hit the home button and we can hit charts. And since we've already chosen that approach, it's going to show up right here. And we can look at it full screen by hitting the word full down near the bottom. And that shows it full screen. So now this gives us the ATIS frequency, the Tampa approach frequency, the Lakeland Tower, the Lakeland Ground, and the Unicom frequencies. It also shows us in the plan view that we're going to go to Bomber first, and we could either do or not do the course reversal at Arshwa. We'll probably just come straight in and make a 90-degree right turn toward Sun Fun. So we will come to Bomber, go to Arshwa, make a right turn, go to Sun Fun, then we'll cross the at above 2,700 feet. And we're going to go to flying at about 1,700 feet, at or above 1,700. And you can see by the lightning bolt arrow by flying that that's where our actual glide slope is going to begin. So we're going to catch the glide slope and we're going to head down. Our missed approach altitude is going to be 332 feet above the ground, or 332 feet above sea level, rather, 200 feet above the ground, and we're going to need a half-mile horizontal visibility. So our missed approach altitude is 332 feet above sea level with a half-mile visibility necessary horizontally. It's going to be 200 feet above the ground, 332 feet above. Our missed approach point is going to be 332 feet above sea level with a half-mile visibility necessary, and the 332 feet above sea level is actually 200 feet above the ground. So if we're going to do a circling approach, we can only go down to 600 feet. If we're going to do an LNAV approach, we can only go down to 520 feet. An LNAV/VNAV, we can go to 439 feet. So our missed approach instructions are shown two different ways. You can look right at the center of the screen here, and it will say climb straight ahead, climb to 1,100 feet, and then a left turn to 2,000 feet and direct plummy. So climb straight ahead to 1,100 feet, a climbing left turn to 2,000 feet, and then direct plummy. It will also say that, it'll depict that here with a dotted line. That's your missed approach, the dotted line. And it will also say that in words what your missed approach will be. It will say in words what your missed approach will be over here in the upper right. Missed approach, climb to 1,000 or 1,100 feet, then climbing left turn to 2,000, direct plummy, and hold. And it will also give you a depiction of how to do that. And you can see the dotted line is where we do the climbing left turn over to plummy intersection, and it'll show you the inbound and outbound legs at plummy. So you can figure out how to enter the hold, the published hold. Okay, so that's basically how we would get to Lakeland using our GPS, and it's easier than you think it is. It's way easier than the old days when we had to do all of this by not looking at a map on our instrument panel. We just had to look at frequencies and arrows, which help guide us to the correct waypoints. Okay, so thank you for watching, and I hope that helped you out somewhat on the GTN750 and how it works. It's an amazing instrument, and Garmin did a wonderful job with it. Thank you.